We've been talking about air conditioning maintenance, we've been talking about service, and touched a little bit on repairs. Before I go to my next object or my next big failure, there's something I think it's probably worthwhile if I can give you a brief rundown. So there are two principal fans. There's your internal fan, your internal blower, which delivers air around the space being conditioned. And then there's a condenser fan. The condenser fan is usually external to the space being conditioned. And the external fan is the fan called the condenser fan. And this is the fan which basically facilitates the removal of the heat from the space. The heat gets transported to this area where the condenser fan is, and the condenser fan basically blows over what is, to all intents and purposes, similar to a radiator. It blows air over this radiator, which cools the refrigerant gas. Now, I'm not going to talk about refrigerant gases, because that's a whole nother ball game. So we're not going to talk about that right now. But basically, take my word for it, the condenser fan is external to the unit, and it blows air over this condenser, cools the refrigerant gases, and gets rid of the air outside. Now, you remember, I said at the earlier part, the definition of air conditioning is removing heat from a place where it's unwanted to where it's unobjectionable. And the condenser fan is part of that process. What I want to show you here is a condenser fan. Again, a failure of maintenance. As you can see, it's obviously fairly heavy, right? This is a fan motor here and the fan blade. This part on top of the motor here is called the rain shield. This is to protect the fan because it sits in a vertical position like this, and this protects rain from getting into the windings of the fan. Unfortunately, this fan motor has completely seized up. Can't move. Okay? Now that didn't just suddenly happen. That condenser fan was probably getting noisy. The bearings were showing an indication of being worn and potential trouble. Somebody has to look at the equipment in order to recognize that. If no one is looking at the equipment, if nobody's inspecting it, then the result is a seized fan and again another expensive service call. That is why we do maintenance. Had somebody been looking at that, had recognised that the fan bearing was getting sticky or getting noisy, they could have advised the customer. The motor would have been replaced, but it would have been replaced on time and probably with a budget rather than an expensive service call. Why do maintenance? Need I say more?